Very good afternoon to all of you. Sir, Dr. Kumar Acharya, present my research topic, transfer formation of heterodoxy from aqueous hydro. As we know that eye is organ is the site for vision. Without eye, we cannot see the beauty of nature. So at the same time, we have to take care of eye from sufferings. So for which we are going to prepare heterodoxy aqueous eye drop. So as you know that aqueous eye drops are most widely used dosage form for eye treatment. And here heterodoxy, this is the drug used for anti-inflammatory property. So heterodoxy is one of the selective property inhibitor. So we reduce the action of prostaglandin. By this way, the inflammation in the eye, the inflammation which may be due to physical, chemical or mechanical shock or after operation also. So in all these cases, this drug can be used as anti-inflammatory agent. So now these are the contents are there: introduction, drug profile, aim and objectives, methods, discussion, summary conclusion and references. So coming to the eye, as I already told you, this eye, this is usually having a complex structure. That is, anterior part, this is the cornea, and the posterior is the sclera. This cornea is usually having both the liquid and hydrophilic membrane. So this is the extension of this corneal part. Here you find the lens. This is your ciliary body, and the suspension ligaments are there. So here it forms the pupil, and this is the entire mechanism. Here the fluid is upper pupil. Here the fluid is vitreous body, and due to which all this accumulated function, we are capable of imaging materials. So anyway, this is what to say after installation of drug into your eye. Then what is happening? There will be corneal penetration, there may be non-corneal penetration, and there may be drainage. So this drainage is lacrimal drainage, that is drainage due to tear. So if tearing is there, immediately after installation, the drug is getting lost from the eye. So our motto should be, if we can prevent this drainage, then only drug may be there in the eye for a long period of time, and we can get the required therapy. Similarly, in this case, non-corneal penetration, that is penetration through sclera and conjunctiva. So that means this is sclera and conjunctiva. It is a highly vasculature. Blood vessels are there in the sclera and conjunctiva. So instead the drug that is being absorbed through this vasculature and coming into the blood. So which is not desirable, because we are targeting drug into the eye, not into our entire body. Okay, so that's why this is also one of the drawbacks. So whatever drug going through this way, that is the loss. But our main target is to permit the drug through the cornea, so that any disorders are there within the eye curve that can be treated effectively. So this is what we have transcellular, paracellular, as you already know that the drug penetration is the two mechanisms are there, paracellular and transcellular. So all both these ways, paracellular hydrophilic drugs and transcellular eosinophilic drugs, all these are getting coming into the aqueous humor, and usually around 5% of the administered dose that is getting absorbed in the eye and available for therapeutic effectiveness. So here coming to our main element of it, as I already told you, we are planning to prepare heterodoxy aqueous eye drop. So this heterodoxy is the COX-2 inhibitor, which is used to prevent inflammation or by reducing this prostaglandins. As this heterodoxy eye drops are not aqueous eye drops, are not available in the market, so that's why we started this one. So coming to this drug, little bit about the information of the drug. This is the COX inhibitor, this is a formula, this is chemical structure, this is chemical name, and then molecular weight, melting point, this is here. And if we are going to analyze through UV spectrophotometer, then the lambda is equal to 34 nanometer. And here it is showing this mechanism. As already I told you, the COX inhibitor, this reduces the generation of prostaglandin or pieces from arachidonic acid, and it is around 106 times more selective than COX-2 than over the COX-1. because COX-1 and COX-2, again COX is divided into two categories. So COX-2 is more selective than COX-1. So that's why if we are using this drug, then other side effects of this COX-1 inhibition that can be prevented. And here our main problem is that this drug is coming under BCS class 2. So class 2 means it is having low permeability, high permeability and low solubility. So here our motto is anyhow, as we are going to prepare aqueous drugs should be soluble in water. So to improve solubility, we have started. This is little more about information for the drug profile. So protein binding, half-life, bioavailability, and all these are there. Then these are the materials and chemicals instruments used. Coming to this, we prepared a calibration curve with 0.1 normal SL. This is the concentration we prepared, and this is the appearance, and this is the appearance of this is the curve. So here why we took prepared this in 0.1 normal hydrochloride, because this drug is alkaline in nature and it is having more solubility in acidic medium. So that's why we prepared 0.1 SL, and there we found solubility of this data are there in the next slide. Similarly, in order to determine this drug content, this drug is being we prepared a calibration curve in methanol, as methanol is organic solvent, so it is a green solute. So that's why we prepared another standard curve. And here we prepared a standard curve or calibration curve in bicarbonate ringer solution, because pH of clear fluid is around 7.2. So based on that, we selected this bicarbonate ringer as alternative to clear fluid, so that we can carry out experimental work in the laboratory. So that's why these are the concentration, these are the absorbance, and this is the products. Now coming to methods of dissection of cornea and the apparatus used. So cornea dissection usually collected the whole eyeball from the local blister shop, and from there immediately the animal is sacrificed. This is the goat. Okay, goat being sacrificed. Immediately within the 1 hour we collected the entire eyeball in a normal saline solution, and we separated out this corneal part by dissecting. Then we washed out any remaining residual matter, and the cornea, clear cornea, was being used for experimental study. And for this we have used, this is the transdiffusion cell, which is having a donor compartment. This is the receptor compartment, and donor compartment is meant to be the sample. The formulation can be put into the donor, and in between donor receptor we can use either membrane. So it may be any type of membrane, dialysis membrane, or it may be the cornea, what I told you. This cornea can be placed here, and in the receptor compartment we can have a bicarbonate ringer, and here we are having water pumps, so water circulation ports are there, one is lower, upper one. So water can penetrate from the bottom to the range up, and it will come out, it will circulate like this way, so that the temperature of the system can be maintained up to our body temperature. And besides, this is a sampling port is there. So after regular time interval, we can take out sample and we can analyze for the drug that is being formulated through this membrane. So this is what is a corneal, and here immediately after experiment, the corneal hydration value was being estimated. So this cornea, whatever being exposed for this formulation study, after each experiment, the cornea is taken out and it is being put into, say, it is being soaked with filter paper, so that residual water that will be wiped out, and you take the weight. Then thereafter you put into methanol and heat it at 90 overnight. Next day it is almost dried. Then we take the weight. So we initially taken weight, and now took dry weight. So weight minus dry weight divided by this one. That is your initial weight minus final weight divided by initial weight 100. So this gives us an idea about the percentage corneal hydration. That means here, if a corneal hydration level is more, then more amount of drug can penetrate through the cornea. So but at the same time it indicates that if more drug is penetrating, then there might be depletion or degradation in the corneal layer. It indicates that. So for this purpose, in order to know whether cornea is getting damaged, being exposed to our formulation or not, so that's why we are estimating this parameter. Similarly, here the percentage formulation, that is the amount of drug formulated in the receptor divided by the amount of drug in the donor into 100, so it gives a percent formulation. Then here we started this distribution aqueous solubility of introduction. As I already told you, its solubility is very lesser. So that's why we tried several solvent systems like distilled water and solid plus solution. So different grades of solution is prepared, which is solid plus 1%, 2%, 3%, and we also changed the pH of the system. 7.2 by adjusting with the HCl or sodium hydroxide. So then we carried out this solubility study. The required amount of solvent taken and excess amount of drug is added. Then it is being put into a reciprocating cycle for 48 hours at 25 degrees centigrade. And after that, it was filtered and the filtered was taken for drug content at 234 nanometer. Then we prepared. So from this, we can find out the amount of drug that is being solubilized in different pH or solvent systems. So here it is. This is showing this solubility study that in distilled water pH 6.8, solubility is this. Okay, distilled water, then 1%, 2%, 3%. So that means this is solid plus. If we are increasing its concentration, then the solubility of glucose increases as compared to distilled water. Okay, this is normal distilled water. This is the distilled water containing solid-plus. So solid-plus is nothing but this is the one of the polymer that is being used to increase the dissolution and solubility of water, only water soluble drugs. Okay. So then this is in HCl, this is solubility. Then pH, different pH, we got this solubility. So pH distilled water also we adjusted as well as and all this is the concentration of soluble sodium. We find out solubility. Then here we can observe that the highest solubility in HCl, that is like 1 in HCl, and soluble solution as a concentration is increased, then solubility was also increased. So this is taken further into our formulation. Now here by keeping this 0.1% concentration of the drug as a constant, then we change this pH and we have gone through the amount of drug that is formulated. And here increasing pH of the formulation from 5.5 to 7.2, which increases the formulation of the substance. So this here you can see 0.04, 0.58, 0.69, 0.76. So that means he has increased the amount of drug formulation formulated, that also increasing. Same way, this is the concentration of ultratoxin. So now we change the concentration and we found that as we are increasing concentration, then there is also some increase in the amount of drug, but here this percentage formulation is also increasing. Then this is the effect of preservative, as it is after nutrition, so preservatives has to be added because these patients are going to use in a multi-dose way, so that's why preservatives may be added. So control without preservative, this is benzyl coating product, UDTA, then benzyl coating product plus UDTA, benzyl alcohol, then thiomersal, vinyl musculic acetate, and ammonium nitrate. So all these preservatives are being added, and these are the surface tensions we measured after adding preservative. Then here we found that DAK and UDTA is showing the released surface tension. So that indicates that after installation, the eye drop as surface tension is very less, so the drop will spread more and drug penetration might be more. So that is the reason why here we found that this amount of drug formulated is the highest among all other formulations. And here also this is percentage corneal hydration, as I already told you that if it is more than usually 80%, then there might be chances of corneal damage. So this is what the same thing, and here this is EPA plus DAK It is showing the most formation. And this is the comparison between controlled formulation and optimized formulation. So controlled means without any additive, and optimized means it contains combination highest visibility, which is showing highest formulation. So that is behavior and visibility. So here this is your amount formulated. We are getting 0.04, and here the amount formulated that is 0.08. So it clearly indicates that this is as compared to controlled formulation, your optimized formulation shows more amount of drug formulation. Then this is some stability studies we also carried out by filling into ampoules, glass ampoules, and exposing to different storage conditions, that is accelerated condition and room temperature, and the study is carried out for 6 months in both the cases, and we evaluated the parameters like drug content, pH, and accuracy. So these are the results are there, drug content, pH, and accuracy. And coming to conclusion, so can be concluded that increase in concentration of drug in aqueous drug causes an increase in formation. Organ transport of equilibrium is pH dependent. As already found that if we increase pH, then the amount of drug increase formation increases. Then having maximum transport at pH 7.2. So due to more all ionic fraction at the formation site. So for formation, as already the fraction of a drug that remains on ionic at the site then formulate or penetrate more as compared to the fraction remains in ionic form. So that could be the reason that more amount of drug remains in non-ionic form at a pH 7.2. Now introduction 0.1% of the aqueous drug of pH 7.2 containing benzoyl chloride and UPTA provides a significantly higher formation of introduction than the control formation for the gold formation. So these are the references.
So sometimes I think in the beginning you discussed that you added acid to dissolve the drug.
No, actually drug, we took the drug in order to find out its solubility.
Yes.
So we have to take one acidic media, one alkali media, one distilled water, so that we can come to know that a drug is soluble maximum in acidic condition or in alkali condition or in distilled water. So as from literature we can to know that this drug is water insoluble or poorly soluble. So that's why distilled water only one reference for us. But if we are going to extreme acidic condition or alkali condition, then from there we can come to know that whether a drug is soluble in acidic condition or in alkali. That this will give us some back idea, so that we can prepare different pH solution, and there also we can find out its solubility.
Okay. The thing is that acid it is soluble means you have in the drug some amines. Okay. Otherwise it is not possible. So if you have amines and if it's protonated when we are adding acid, so do you think the activity, we are adding drug, we are taking drugs normally, whether the activity will change, which partners we are using, if you protonate the amine, because definitely your drug you have amines, otherwise it is not possible to dissolve in water. Okay, so it is getting protonated and that's why it is getting dissolved. Okay, so due to the protonation, whether the activity of your drug, the purpose we are using, whether it still remains okay or some
that part we have to go through the animal study.
Okay.
We have to take some animal model. We have to apply this drug into the animal like a rabbit we are taking, and we have to induce fasting inflammation. Then we have to apply this drug. Then we have to
If there is no questions, let us thank our speaker again. Yes.
I would like to request Dr. Kunal Pal to present a moment of appreciation to Dr. Ajit Kumar Asarikar.